This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Sport and Forged Irish Stout. Delighted to be joined with a very, very busy man, Johnny Clark. December the 9th, you've got another show in Brentwood, but that hasn't been the only thing that's been stressful for you this past couple of weeks. You have recently, had another part to the family add on. Um,
Yeah.
your wife gave birth to another
Yeah.
child. How's things, mate? Congratulations on that first.
Thank you. Thank you. Now things are very well. Well, now they're well. It was a tough time in the hospital. I won't go too into the details. They're not
Of
nice.
course, of course.
And it's put my wife off having any more kids, so that's a touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a tough time, but they're all home now. They're all together again, and yeah, we can concentrate on the show. But the baby was actually due tomorrow, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's quite lucky that it come a bit earlier. And as I put a post up, said basically I promoted this show so well that even my daughter wanted to come out early to see it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll just firstly touch on that, like that this week and how it's been. Like, was it sort of difficult dealing with the stresses of it coming up to the fight? You mentioned to me earlier about sort of having a pull out, when you was in hospital, this and that. How was sort of dealing with all them sort of stuff leading up to a massive fight week?
Yeah, well, why there was like a few complications going on with my wife. There were 6 pullouts, and to be fair, now looking back, I would probably say it helped me because if I was just concentrating on the stress from like a pregnancy, emergency, and C-section, I won't get too much more
Yeah,
detail, but it was driving us mad in there. And to have something else to concentrate on was probably a blessing. I just wish it was a bit less stressful because, like on her first contraction, my biggest ticket said his opponent pulled out,
yeah,
but then 7 minutes later I'd replaced it. And I was like, oh, I can still work. I can still work under
yeah,
this pressure. So it was good to see. But I'd rather it didn't happen, if I'm honest. But yeah,
yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely. But we'll get on to December the 9th. Fourth show now. Before we get
Yeah.
onto the card, how does it feel that 2023 has really been a successful year for you with top tier and with the brand?
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. Well, to be fair, I say unbelievable, but everything I've set out to do, I've done. Some bits quicker than others. Like I've had the channel on Sky, that come on AO's that. Like to even be on there for one show was amazing. You know what I mean? So I'm well happy with how that's going. The boxers I've had on, the titles I've had on. I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect titles to come on the show yet. I thought, let me build a brand, let me build it up, and then hopefully I can get some good little fights going for people that want to get a title. Then they can go on and win it and bring it back or whatever. But now I've got 3 titles on this show, so that's amazing. And then the next show to kick off the year, I've got quite a few, probably double that. So everything's moving correctly. I think we've got a good reputation on how we treat the boxers. Personally, like we go above and beyond. I can't sleep till they're sorted. Basically, like you see, my wife's in hospital going through a bad time, and I'm working non-stop, grafting, making sure that every boxer's looked after and they get to fight because that's the main thing.
And this year to break through, to really hit the ground running. You said that you've done everything you've set out to achieve, but how important was it to you to make a statement? Your first year in promoting, you're going to sort of come up here and tear up the script in a way.
Yeah, I feel like a bit like Micah Richards. I burst on the scene,
Yeah.
and things I've been saying in interviews, things I've been posting, a lot of people are now saying similar things in small hall. And that's not me being big-headed, but no one really was up for 50-50. They just wanted biggest ticket sellers they could get, a good little video to post, and then try and show that they packed out the arena. Whereas I don't care how many people are in the arena because no one looks back at the crowd, do they? Everyone looks back at like the Tyrone King versus Lorenzo 15-second clip. That's what you want to see. 50-50s where it could go either way. And in 15 seconds, it went both ways. And then, that's what the aim of top tier was. I can't call myself top tier, first showed a statement and just have 10 fighters, home fighters fighting 10 journeymen. It was never going to work. There's too much money in the show for that as well. I need both sides selling tickets. And that's what we've managed to achieve, what we set out. Probably a bit quicker than I thought, as I've already mentioned. But for me, next year has to be bigger. Every show has to be better, So, yeah, we're on track, put it this way.
Absolutely. We'll get into the 50, the sort of reason behind 50-50 in a minute, but we'll go on to the December 9th card. As you say, it always needs to be bigger and better. And this one, it's no different. Some great fights on
No.
the card with Jordan Dujon versus Konstantin Ursu. Jack Martin
Yeah.
against CJ Challenger, which for myself is something that I'm definitely interested in.
Yeah.
James Osborne versus George O'Leary. Obviously, this has also come with pullouts as well, but
Yeah.
Stelios Papadopoulos. I could list off so many. Will Hamilton. So many great
Yeah.
fights on the card. Are you excited
Yeah.
to be back out in Brentwood?
Oh, I am. And listen, I know that it's really a triple header, the main event, because they're all fighting for the same title. So who can I put as a headliner? Although Ursu and Jordan Dujon, they are the headliner. That will be my last fight of the evening. But like Ursu, I've heard so much about him before he was on my show. Heard a lot more since he's been on my show. Followed him a little bit. Seen the quality, unbelievable. The stories, like obviously sparring stories are sparring stories, but when you're there, it's a little bit different, And I managed to see a few, and I was blown away. But then you got obviously Jordan Dujon. He's not an idiot, is he? And he's good record. Comes to fight in great shape. Like I tried meeting him, to be honest, so I weren't being too one-sided, because I've watched Ursu spar. I wanted to go to his gym and see him, but unfortunately the baby was coming and we had to cancel. Yeah. But for me, that fight, it will be fight of the night. But then the other two in the title, like CJ and Jack, they're both let's go fighters. So like, for the Eaton, no one wins, no one loses. But that's a great fight. Like you said, you're looking forward to it. But there's like all my friends are texting me Ozzy and George, because they're two local lads and they're both fighting for a title. And we've seen them through the unlicensed scene, like literally 20 doors down in the Civic Hall. That's where I live. And that they're fighting for a silver Commonwealth on my show. Like that story is just crazy. And they never even fought in the unlicensed. You know what I mean? Yeah. But now they're pros, both from the same area. George is mad as a box of frogs as well. These videos he keeps tagging me, and he's fucking lost the plot, mate. Listen, but they're both trained hard. They both stopped work. They give it their all. And for me to give them that opportunity, I have to thank Debbie and the Commonwealth for giving us the silver to push on shows, because shows like mine, there's not a lot of money to be made in them. So I need little titles that mean something to give boxers a reason to come on my show. And that really has helped, so full credit to them.
Definitely. I did want to, whilst you like to give everyone the exposure, you do like to give everyone a push. We did mention the three, almost like a triple header in a sense. On the undercard, is there anyone you're really looking at that potentially people may not be talking about that are real talents? I did mention Stelios Papadopoulos there, who's trained by Will Jones, and he's meant to be an exciting talent. So is there anyone else that, saying definitely look out for these guys?
Yeah, because if you look at young Zach Fee, he was on a show, and unfortunately it got pulled on fight week. So they messaged me, and unfortunately Jordan Perkis got injured. He broke his foot. And then that meant that his opponent, Lewis, was fighting a journeyman. So I messaged his team. I said, do you want a 50-50? Then you ain't got to pay no one, because there's not a lot of money in it. And, it's a good fight. He's young. His name's Zach Fee. Have a look at him. He's been on 2 of my shows, sent them the videos, have a good look. It's nothing to hide. And they went, yeah, it's been about 5 minutes. I was like, what? So like to take on that straight away, I was like, wow, he just took him on. And then obviously Zach, I think all his fights now have been on my shows, So he's had a good run, and one was planned, 2 of them weren't. And then for him to have a full out, and they're now fighting a 50-50, he's only just turned 19. It's kind of the mentality that I want on my shows. I don't want the people, I just want to fight a journeyman and do this, do that, we'll pay, we'll get them over. I don't want that. I don't want it. It's not exciting. It doesn't get people wanting to watch the stream. Or keep watching the stream. It gets them just to turn it off. And top tier, the amount of money that's put into it, my sponsors, everyone who's bought a ticket, they deserve better. So 50-50s, that's what we're screaming out for. And I do believe Zach Fee and Lewis Swifton is a great fight. And the only problem is now Zach's in a 50-50 at so young, he's going to have to be well managed and well trained by Bill to keep him back down. And Bill's already done that with Tyrone. Tyrone could have been on there fighting one of 6 opponents, but it probably would have been for a title after that last performance. And Bill said we'll win that title, but then it's what comes next. So we're going to let him get back to work. We're going to train with him, bring him on, and you'll see him in February. So I was like, no, listen, how you've managed that, boxer, like, fair play to you, mate, because I've got to be greedy and started ringing everyone trying to get him a title fight. Especially after that highlight reel, So I would say Zach's one to look out for. Jamie Robinson, he has got a journeyman, but wins this and he's straight in back at titles. You know, he just needed this for him. And I like the boy. I always talk about bridging the gap between me and the big boys, and he's basically in that gap. You know, he's too big for small hall, and he just needs to win to get back up to the big boys. So I hope he does the job. I hope he gets the highlight reel out of it. The last journeyman he knocked out, he done a lap of the ring. So I hope he does one of them. And then, we'll send him back on his way to the big boys.
Definitely. Absolutely. So we mentioned like pullouts there, and sort of every single show you have sort of had to deal with your own headaches. Fights that were meant to happen. Obviously, Thomas Galbraith versus Ryan Maycock, which is someone that everyone was really interested in. That didn't happen. Kevin Rivera and Angelo Antonio. As you say, Jordan Perkins versus Louis Smithson. These fights that didn't happen through no fault of your own. How do you? No. You always mention me that you always talk to me about sort of yourself, that you pride yourself on being a problem solver, managing to solve these problems and keep them on the card, and looking after the guys on the card when necessarily you don't really have to do that. Is that an important thing for you?
Listen, when they ring me, my first thought is, I hope you're all right, mate. You know what I mean? Like Kevin Ravel is like a local lad. He's been on all my shows as well. And I just wanted to get him a title. And then it was a very close fight with Gideon that he had. He could have won, in my eyes, you know what I mean? But he didn't. And then he was meant to win this title in February. We'll go for it. Hopefully Gideon would have won, but unfortunately he lost against a very good fighter in Bilal Fawaz. But if he'd have won that, I would have made sure he got that shot on my show. Yeah. But then he got injured. He's injured his elbow. So he had to pull out. And then I just gutted for him. And then I thought, oh, shit, my show. I forgot about my show. Yeah. Well, I cared about him that much. You know what I mean? But then Kevin pulled out. So that left Angelo. And then Brian Maycock wanted to snap Thomas Galbraith like a Kit Kat, but ended up snapping his thumb like one instead, Yeah. So from that, I thought, well, that leaves Thomas and Angelo. Thomas and Angelo nearly had a fight at a press conference, Joe. He loved it. And all that. Yeah. Listen, so then I thought that's a great fight to make. And then Thomas accepted straight away. I was going to do an impression of him then, but it ain't that good. And then he accepted. Angelo, he hadn't been preparing for a tall, rangy and all that. So they had a look and then they turned it down. And then Angelo goes and gets injured. And then I've had to book 2 journeymen, one for Thomas, one for Angelo. Angelo's injured and left. Oh, what's that?
What's going on there?
What's that?
What's that? I've never seen that before.
What was that?
I have no clue, mate. Honestly, I could not tell you. I have no idea.
Celebrating the victory, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but listen, so then you've had all them pullouts, and then Thomas and Angelo both had a book journeyman. Then Angelo's pulled out, so then Thomas took Angelo's opponent because he had a better record. What is it? It's a thumb now. What's that?
I have no clue, mate. Honestly, no, I have no idea.
Fuck knows. But listen, and it was constantly changing him, the news fight, and it was like, it was just crazy. But now it's settled. Thomas has got shown as 4-3. Said it was better than fighting Mandarov, who's been on most of my shows as well as a journeyman. But he wanted to have a fight and something that's going to push him up. He didn't just want another one where he's going to win. And fortunately, Thomas said that on my previous show with Lorenzo. Lorenzo pulled out on him with 2 weeks to go with a medical issue. So I just felt gutted. But now at least he's got someone with a winning record. He can have a quick tear up with him. And who knows, maybe he could be in line for the Southern area next. You know what I mean? I just need to get their records up.
Absolutely. And while these guys aren't exactly like exclusive to you in a way, do you like to keep getting them on the show? So, Zach Fee's had 3 fights on you. Tyrone's had 2 fights with you. Thomas has had, many, like, same. I think he's had about 2. I think he's had 2 fights with you. Do you sort of like having these guys keep giving these guys opportunity when they're sort of giving their loyalty to you in a way, because they don't, they could easily fight elsewhere as well?
Yeah, and the thing is the money, the exposure. Like they're a brand themselves. Like we spoke about Top Tier being a brand, but their boxing career, they are their own brand, and they need the exposure. They like the nice walkout. So for them to be on my show, I know it's a privilege. That's why we made it the way we did. But it isn't a plan to keep them on. What is like Tyrone? He opened my 2nd or 1st show, and then the 3rd show he fought a 50-50. And he got that highlight reel. So I don't mind bringing someone in if that's where they're going to get to. Kevin Ravel, he don't want no journeyman. He just wants 50-50. He messaged me, I am injured, but when I come back, I want someone who hasn't lost. I was like, cool. You know what I mean? So that mentality, they could always be on my show. But if someone wants to come on my show and fight 10 bin men in 10 shows, it'll be like, it's not worth it. You know, I don't get nothing from it. You know, it's just not worth it. Like, what are you gaining? You can go first and open a show. Like, cool, because no one wants to go first. But hopefully, shows are going to get bigger and better. And let's say I don't have no journeyman on it because they have saved my show. I've not got a thing against them because it's like my wife is in labour. I'm sitting there texting all the journeymen and all the managers. So they needed in boxing. But for me to go forward as a brand, the less I have on my show, the better. That's the truth.
Definitely. And but for yourself, how much is it is a privilege that these guys want to be in your show? Because I speak to boxers that box on the sort of small, it's not really a small hall circuit, but on the circuit, they'd be like, get Johnny to try and get me on one of his shows. People, I'm sure your phone is bombarded with people trying to get on their show. That having that sort of you not actually having to ask people, but people asking you, that must be a privilege to show how much of a good job you're doing.
Yeah, I think the reputation, like we said, I built the brand, built the reputation. I'm fair. I do everything for him. Like Jamie Robinson, he come on. I really like him. As a person, he's a crazy fucker. You know what I mean? But someone, he's probably one of the only ones at the time that was fighting the journeyman. Someone asked me for a table. I said, can you go and speak to Jamie? He's got a table he hasn't sold yet, and that would help him out. Blah, blah, blah. And they went and done it, and they ended up getting 15 or 14 tickets sold. And I thought, I've done my bit. Like I'll help them as much as I can. And then hopefully, like he's already said, like if he goes and gets the title or whatever, he's an Essex boy. He wants it on my show. I don't know. That's it. I think just the way I act and treat people, that I ain't here to make money at the moment. The end goal is obviously that. But right now is to build the best brand, hopefully get a big deal coming, good sponsorship. Like already got good people behind me. And then from there, we can start opening up arenas a little bit, getting on better main events, like better belts, maybe like the real Commonwealth, like the gold Commonwealth. And then the shows will gradually grow. But we grew quite quickly. So I think next year is just a consistent level raising, not too much too quick. Don't get out of debt for then one fight drops and you lost 10, 20 grand. I don't want that yet, so we're going to build it slowly still.
One thing that you've always said is you want the 50-50s. You always banging on about 50-50s. And I remember we had an Instagram conversation a couple months ago now, and I said to you, what is the aim for 50-50s? With a guy like Zach Fee, who's 18, only 2-0, he still has so much to learn. So what would be the aim to push someone like him in 50-50? Yeah.
No. That's I'm like Zach. I don't think that I think he should be, but I think it is probably a little bit too early for him. If I was going to say, Zach, you've got to come on 50-50. No, I'd gladly have Zach first, second fight on my shows, building him up. He's young, but he's good. So it's not too early because of his skill set. He's still got a lot of learning to do. So someone who's 1-on-1, that's a good learning fight to have a 50-50. Push him up there, give him a bit of confidence, But that's if he wins, because Lewis ain't an idiot. You know what I mean? But for me, the amount of money that goes into the shows, if you've turned over to be a pro and you're good, then you know what I mean. You can't keep shying away. And if you're like me, you're on BoxRec every day, I bet, and you're looking at opponents, looking at fights, and you can see someone's 10, 11. No, as soon as they have their first test, either a southern area or their first 50-50, before they go into the southern area, they lose, and you don't ever see them fight again. So there's nothing wrong with losing. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with losing a fight, because it's getting harder for boxers to sell tickets. It's getting much harder for them to sell it if there isn't no promo. And how can I promote a fight where the geezer's not even in England yet? Like I can't. I literally can't get him in there. The next show, we've hired Lakeside Shopping Centre to do a media workout. I'm going all in. Now I need the fighters in the country and participating in that. And that's what you get when you get a 50-50. If not, then I just have to smash you on the first couple of fights and then get your record up. But I believe there'll be shows where you can do that, like at Civic Hall, where the EBA shows were. That's an arena. You can have 300, 400 people in there. Just sell tickets. There's no big production. There's nothing. Go and get your record up. No one can see you. Cool. You know what I mean? But if you're going to be on shows where they want 50-50s, you're going to get treated well. That's the main thing. Come on me, give me your record, and I'll give you everything I can to make sure that you got some good memories in boxing, some good footage, a little media pack to take home afterwards. You know, the photos, the videos, and just look after them. You know, you can't get that if you're fighting like a Polish fella who's lost all his fights. You know, like what can I do with you? Not much.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. So, yeah.
With you mentioning there about tickets being harder to sell than ever now, and you know, there's so. Do you feel like public in a way, fans, boxing fans, they're sick of going to a small hall, going to a small hall event, or looking on BoxRec, and all you see is big all these names, and all it is wins against guys like Journey, just literally just full of journeymen. You think that they're just people that are just sick of that?
I'll be honest with you. I was at a show at York Hall with my wife, and there was the keys on my shoulder, leaning over, and he had BoxRec in his hand, and there was an Irish fella saying, "Look at this! What is this? He hasn't won a fight. I bet he hasn't even thrown a punch in his life." And everyone in the crowd now, they look at that, And when the 50-50 come on at that show, the whole arena lit up. And I was like, this is what it's about. Like, for me as a fan, I want every fight to be like that. And why can't it be? And that's, to be honest with you, that's because the boxers, obviously the promoters want it. We don't want to pay journeymen. We don't want to pay flights, hotel. We don't want to send Abdul to the airport and back. Make him come through Luton and he can take them to the hotel. Like, I don't want to do all that. It's horrible. You know what I mean? It's extra effort as well. But we want the 50-50. So I like my promotion. Like, if you've been on a top tier show, they know, he's up for a fight. He's up for a row. He might have lost, but he's up for a row. You know what I mean? That's exactly what I wanted to do on my shows. You come through top tier, it's like good to have on your CV. You know that you're well schooled. You've had a bit of media. You've had Boxing Social, put a camera up your eyes, and then you're trained a bit. You know what I mean? You've got some poster photos. You've got good highlight reels. You might have lost, but I'll tell you what, if you say I want a 50-50, you come back on. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Definitely. Just as we close this interview off, 2023 draws to an end. 2024 now pushes. You said that you want to go bigger and better. What can we expect in 2024?
Well, I've done 4 shows this year. Next year I'm going to do 5. I don't really want to do more than that. The main reason is if I give something my all, I don't want to cramp it in and rush it. So we like to spread it out, certain amount of time before the promos come out, the posters, the little gap in between, some podcasts. So I've got 5 shows next year, all going to be at Brentwood Centre still. That's my home. Even on this show, I've got all the Leicester boys. They're all coming down. So I'm happy to keep it there. It's a good arena, very professional. It's my own. It's exclusive to me at the moment. So that couple and better for me next year will be like hosting media days myself, maybe, a bit of a press conference, something along that line. But the first step would be like a little media workout in the middle of Lakeside Shopping Centre on the 5th of Jan. We've got that for my first show on the 10th of February. So something a little different, elevating each and every time. And like I said, I might be in the small hall, but I've got a big hall mentality. So that's what we're going to bring.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've never actually been Lakeside before, so that sounds like a good first visit for me, mate.
There you go. You get the train straight in there. You don't even have to drive.
Absolutely, mate. Johnny, just want to say thank you for taking time to speak to me. Always appreciate catching up with you. And I'm sure December 9th will be a very, very special night once again.
Thank you, mate.
Top man. Thank you, mate. Cheers.